Hey everyone, welcome to the THEOPHOS Supreme Lighting System demo walkthrough. This is going to be a quick overview of the system, how it works. We're not going to go too deep into detail in this one. You can check out my other videos for that. In this one, we're just going to look at how it works, how it's set up, and get right to it. So first things first, I do have this character that I got off the Fab store, and THEOPHOS is set up where you can just drop whatever character you want and it's going to work right away, or just drop the system into whatever project you're working on and the interaction is going to work right away with all of your player characters. In this case, it's a left click to interact, so we're going to walk up, interact, get that nice animation on the light switch. The left click is, of course, you can change that in the blueprints to match whatever your interaction is. And then the same thing with the motion sensor. It's going to interact with any of your characters. When you overlap with this bounding box, when you leave the bounding box, it's going to turn off. This one's on a 5-second timer. And if we interact and then we leave the bounding box, the timer is going to start. If we walk back in before it finishes, it's going to start over. And then when we leave again, it's going to turn back off. Next up is the startup sequence and transition section. And the startup sequence is modeled after real life fluorescent lights, where they have different phases on startup, especially more older models. When you turn them on, they're going to have a bit of flickering as they're starting up, and then they're going to rest into a low intensity state and then slowly work their way up to the full intensity. And then depending on how old it is, you might start with a greenish tint and then you're going to fade into the natural white color. So we go through all of that. It's all customizable. And go ahead and turn that on. And then of course you can hear that the sound is also synced to it, which is fully adjustable on your end. We will turn that off. As mentioned, the color is customizable, so you don't have to settle for the green or the white. You can, in this case, go from blue to red, and we will come back to that when it warms up. Speaking of warm-up, we do have a realistic warm-up where if you interact with the light and this startup sequence is interrupted, it's going to start the startup sequence again when you turn it back on. And then if we do let it warm up to its full intensity, if we interact with it and turn it back on, it's going to start at that full intensity again. And that's just to simulate the light being warmed up and not having to go through the startup sequence each and every time. And we'll come back here to this nice deep red. Go ahead and turn that off. Come down here to the audio sync, which you guys have already heard. It's going to sync the stabilization volume, ramp it up to whatever you have for your full idle volume. If you don't want to use the startup sequence, you don't have fluorescent lights, or you have a different kind of fluorescent light that doesn't go through the green phase and all of that, then you can shut that off, and then it's going to default to the warm-up, which is just a fade in, and then you can adjust the duration for that. So if you don't want any fade in, you want it to just go straight to instant on, you can turn that to 0. And then on the flip side, this one does have an instant on. We have the cooldown, which is how long it takes to go from full intensity back to off. In this case, it's exaggerated at 10 seconds. And you can hear the sound fading out with it as well. And there we go. And lastly, for this section, we'll go ahead and turn the room lights on. And you can see that you can go light by light and change the timing, change the color, the behavior, which we'll get to in the next section, whichever customization you want to do. In this next section, since we're going into behaviors, bit of a photosensitivity warning here because there are flickering lights. So anybody who might have an issue with that, not sure how you want to approach that, but just going to give you a warning before we go into this next section. So first things first, we have the static light, which is always on. The sound is consistent. You can customize the sound, turn it off if you don't want it, customize the color, all the usual stuff. We have a flicker, which is on a random pattern that you can set the range of, so it'll never be a repeating pattern. We also have the sound hooked up to the light intensity, so it's always going to be in sync. Over here we have the smooth fade between whatever speed you want, whatever minimum and maximum intensity you want, so you don't have to go all the way to off like we are in this state. And then lastly, we got the strobe light, which again might give us some artifacts of going all the way off with the intensity. This is just flickering with a consistent frequency. Next up, we have alarms. First one is a single color mode. And these are all the same alarm state. They just have different settings. There is going to be a little bit of sound here, so if anybody wants to watch their headphones or their speakers, give you a chance to turn them down just in case. Shouldn't be too loud. I don't want to jump scare anybody. So I'm going to turn this on in 3, 2, 1. And of course, the alarm flash rate is customizable. In this case, it's 2 seconds. Then we also have the 2-color mode. Again, there's going to be some sound here. And that's just going to flash between your color A and color B. And then lastly, we have alarm with sound spawn. And what that means is down here we have the sound spawning on the actual light mesh, but we also have a setup where you can add a list of actors in your level. So in this case, I got these little alarm horns here, and then I am spawning the sound on those instead of the light mesh. So if I turn this on, we get the light here, but we get the sound coming out of these. And then, of course, I've got a couple down that end too, but I won't waste your time running back down there. In this case, we have a looping sound, so we don't want it to be triggered by the light, so we've set that up differently. Next up, we have multi-lights, which is, in this case, an array of lights, which we turn on. We're going to control that entire room. This can get a little bit tedious if you have big rooms with many, many lights. You don't want to go light by light and add each one to the light switch. You could if you would like. An easier way to do that is you select all of your lights, you add a tag to it, and then we have an add lights by tag button set up in the details panel. You click that and it will add all of the lights with that tag to the light switch. And same thing in reverse. If you need to clear all the lights and don't want to go through one by one and delete them, there's a clear lights button. We do have everything set up on a 3-way switch, so if you use more than one switch to control a group of lights, you can come to the second switch, flip it. You can see that it toggles correctly. The lights turn back off, and then if we come back here to this first switch, we will see that it's still in the same situation, the same position. There we go. The same position that we left it in. And same thing if we come back to this one. We'll go ahead and flip that off. Here we have our lamp, and this one is using 2 different lights. So we have a spotlight aiming down and a spotlight aiming up, and then they're both going to hook into the system on their own and still be triggered by the system. And that is that. This is the last room up here. We'll get to our little logo right here. Thank you guys for trying out THEOPHOS, or in this case, watching me try it out. If you would like to try it out again, there's a link in the description to download the demo build. There's also a link to the marketplace where you can download it for yourself. If you have any questions that were not answered in this video, go ahead and leave a comment below. And you can also check out the other videos on the channel where I walk through the details of how everything works. Thanks for watching. I will see you later.